The ship, Aurora Dawn, moved slowly through the silver light of a twin star system. Inside it, a young human named Elier Kane stood near the window, looking at the glowing clouds outside. He was not a soldier or a fighter. He was a diplomat, quiet, thoughtful, and careful with words. He had been chosen to meet the alien people called the Valorians, a race known across the galaxy for their beauty, intelligence, and their strange fox-like ears that could sense emotions and energy. Elier had trained for months to prepare for this meeting. Humans and Valorians had never formed a direct alliance before. The Valorians were proud, cautious, and deeply private. They called themselves the Children of the Stars. Their royal family ruled from a great orbital palace called the Stellar Crown. When the Aurora Dawn reached the palace, Elier felt a mix of fear and wonder. The Stellar Crown was like nothing he had seen before. It looked like a ring of glass and crystal floating above a golden planet, with soft blue lights glowing along its edges. Dozens of smaller ships moved around it like shining insects. Elier took a deep breath as he stepped into the receiving chamber. The air smelled faintly like flowers and metal. The Valorians stood in 2 long rows, tall and graceful, their silver hair shining, their long robes flowing like water. Their fox ears twitched slightly as he passed, listening to his heartbeat and the rhythm of his breath. They could sense truth and fear through sound and emotion. At the far end of the hall stood Princess Saliera, the youngest daughter of the Valorian High Queen. She was known as the Starlit Heir. Her eyes were golden, bright and deep like twin suns. She was calm, but her presence filled the room. She was trained since childhood to hide emotion, to stay still and quiet even under pressure. When Elier stopped before her, he bowed respectfully. He tried to keep his voice steady as he spoke the words of greeting he had practiced. "I bring peace from the human alliance, and hope for friendship between our people." Saliera nodded slightly. Her voice was soft, but carried through the room. "We welcome peace, human envoy. But friendship is not given, it is proven." Their eyes met for only a second. It was supposed to be polite, a diplomatic gesture. But something strange happened. The air around them shimmered faintly, like heat waves. Saliera's golden eyes widened, and her ears flicked backward in shock. Elier felt a sharp pulse inside his chest, like a soft electric current touching his heart. For a moment, everything went silent. He saw flashes, images that were not his own. A large moon breaking apart. A young girl crying beside a silver pool. Voices speaking in a strange language he somehow understood, and then he heard Saliera's voice inside his mind. "Who are you?" He stepped back in shock. "I'm Elier Kane." She blinked, her eyes trembling. "No human should hear me like this." "You've activated the bond." The Valorian council members began whispering among themselves. Some looked afraid, others angry. Elier could feel their emotions pressing against him like waves. He didn't understand what had happened, but he could see that Saliera was frightened too, not of him, but of what their connection might mean. The High Seer, an elder with white furred ears, stepped forward. "The bond of resonance," he said slowly. "It was foretold that when the Valorian heart and the foreign soul meet, the seal of the ancient code would awaken." Elier frowned. "What does that mean?" Saliera's eyes turned toward him again, softer this time. "It means you've touched something sacred, a link between minds. Our ancestors used it to share thoughts and power, but no human was ever compatible." As they stood in silence, the lights of the chamber flickered. A deep alarm tone echoed through the halls. Guards rushed in, their silver armor gleaming. "Your Highness," one of them shouted, "there's a breach in the outer ring." The council panicked. Through the high windows, Elier saw explosions outside the Stellar Crown. Small attack ships, black and fast, fired plasma bolts at the palace's outer shields. The rebel faction known as the Void Talons had come. Saliera turned toward her guards. "Get the council to safety," she ordered. Her calm voice cut through the noise. Elier stepped forward. "Let me help. I know defense strategy. You're not trained for this. You're a guest, a more useful alive beside you than locked in a room," he replied. His tone surprised even him. For a moment, she looked at him, uncertain. Then she nodded. "Stay close, human." They ran through the glowing corridors as the station shook. Elier could feel Solera's fear and focus inside his head. Their minds were connected somehow. Every time she thought of danger, he saw flashes of light, maps of hallways, escape routes. When he stumbled, she reached out and caught his arm. Her fingers trembling slightly, they reached a lift that took them to the upper palace ring. The floor was shaking, lights flickering red. Solera touched a wall panel, projecting a map. "The rebels want the throne core," she said. "It holds our ancestral AI. If they control it, they control the whole system." Elier looked at her. "Then we stop them." She turned to him. "You don't understand. My power is unstable. When the bond activated, it linked our minds. I can't control the energy that flows through it." He remembered the pulse that hit him earlier, the strange warmth in his chest. "Maybe I can help you control it." She stared at him. "You'd risk your mind?" He smiled faintly. "I already did the moment I looked into your eyes." For a second, she looked at him with surprise and something else trust. Then she pressed her palm to his. The link flared brighter. Elier felt his vision blur, colors bending around him. He saw her memories, her childhood, her isolation, her secret wish to see the world beyond royal walls. And she saw his, a small apartment on Earth, a quiet life, the loneliness he never admitted to anyone. Their bond steadied. Solera gasped softly. It worked. Before they could speak again, a blast shook the floor. The lift doors burst open, and armored rebels stormed in. Their helmets were black, their weapons humming with energy. Elier instinctively pushed Solera behind him. One of the rebels shouted, "The princess is ours. Take her alive." Solera raised her hand, her golden eyes glowing. The air rippled. The rebels froze mid-step as invisible energy wrapped around them. But the effort drained her instantly. She fell to her knees, trembling. Elier caught her before she hit the floor. "Don't push yourself," he said softly. Her voice was weak. "The bond. It helps me focus. Keep your hand on mine." Elier nodded. Together, they concentrated, and the energy around them stabilized. The rebels' weapons flickered off. The blast doors sealed again. For a moment, there was silence, except for their breathing. Solera opened her eyes slowly. "You're stronger than I expected. Maybe your power needed someone who doesn't want to control it," he said. Her lips curved into a small smile. "Perhaps." They moved again through the corridors, guided by the bond. Solera could sense the movements of the rebels through vibrations in the air. Elier followed her instinctively, covering her as they ran. The bond made them work like one mind. She saw danger. He reacted. He hesitated. She steadied him. They reached a control chamber overlooking the throne core. The chamber was round, with a huge crystal column rising in the center, glowing faintly with golden energy. Around it, the rebels had already set up devices to breach the system. Elier crouched behind a console. "They're almost done." Solera closed her eyes. "If they reach the core, Valoria falls. But if I use my power again, I might lose control completely." "Then we do it together," he said firmly. She looked at him, searching his face. "You really believe that?" "I do." Their palms met again. The golden light around them pulsed brighter. Elier could feel her power pouring through him, wild but beautiful. He didn't fight it. He guided it gently, like calming a storm. Together they focused on the core. The rebels turned, startled by the sudden light. One of them shouted, "Contain the energy!" But it was too late. A wave of golden force swept through the room, disarming their weapons without harming them. The breach devices melted harmlessly. The power surrounded the core, sealing it again. When the light faded, the rebels were unconscious but alive. Solera was leaning against Elier, exhausted but smiling faintly. "You balanced it," she whispered. He shook his head. "We balanced it." From the doorway, a group of royal guards arrived, shocked at what they saw. The captain saluted quickly. "Your Highness, the rebels are contained. The outer ring is secure." Solera nodded weakly. "Good." Make sure the wounded are treated, including the rebels. The captain hesitated, surprised at her mercy, but then obeyed. Elier helped her stand. You're safe now. She looked at him for a long moment. Safe. Yes. But everything has changed. The bond cannot be undone. He smiled softly. Then we'll figure it out together. As they walked toward the viewing deck, the stars outside slowly came back into view. The palace lights stabilized, and the alarms stopped. Through the glass, Elier saw the twin suns shining over the golden planet below. Celira stood beside him, her reflection glowing faintly in the window. When I first saw you, I thought humans were fragile. Now, I see there's something else, unpredictable, but full of light. Elier laughed quietly. Most of us are still figuring ourselves out. She turned to him, her golden eyes calm again. Then maybe we'll learn together. The bond chose us for a reason. For a while, they stood in silence, watching the endless stars. Neither spoke about what might come next, the council's questions, the political chaos, tea. The day after the attack, the stellar crown was quiet again, but its silence carried tension. Repairs were happening everywhere. Engineers moved through the glowing halls, fixing broken panels and sealing cracks in the outer ring. The smell of metal and burnt circuits filled the air. Yet amid all this work, something deeper was changing. A strange peace between two species that had once feared each other. Elier. Kane stood by a large glass wall overlooking the golden planet below. He had not slept much. His mind still echoed with memories that were not his. The sound of Celira's laughter as a child. Her lessons in royal discipline, the heavy feeling of duty she carried. Through their psychic bond, he could sense her even when she was far away. Like a gentle heartbeat inside his thoughts, the door behind him slid open. Celira entered quietly, dressed in a white robe that shimmered like moonlight. Her golden eyes seemed calmer than before. But Elier could still sense the pressure she was hiding. The council wants to meet you, she said softly. They have questions. I'm sure they do, he answered, with a faint smile. I still don't understand everything that happened. Neither do I, she admitted. She stood beside him and looked out the window. The bond has stabilized, but it continues to grow stronger. It shouldn't. It's evolving, he turned to her. Does that mean it's dangerous? Her fox ears lowered slightly, a gesture that showed unease. It depends. The bond reacts to emotion. If we lose control, it could spread uncontrolled energy through the palace systems again. The throne core is still recovering. Elier nodded. Then we'll learn to control it. Together, Celira looked at him for a long moment, her gaze soft but filled with uncertainty. Humans speak of courage so easily, she whispered, but your calmness frightens me more than your fear ever could. He chuckled quietly. Maybe calm is just my way of being scared. Before she could respond, the wall lights flashed blue. The signal for a royal summons. They walked together through the corridors toward the council chamber. Guards and attendants stopped to bow as the princess passed. Some of them looked at Elier with curiosity, others with suspicion. Word had spread across the station that a human had bonded with a royal heir, something unheard of in Valorian history. Inside the chamber, the air was heavy. The High Seer, the Queen's advisor, stood at the center of a circle of council members. His white-furred ears twitched as he turned to face them. Princess Celira. Human Elier Kane. The council demands clarity. The prophecy of the foreign heart was never meant to come true. Elier kept his posture straight but respectful. I didn't mean to cause harm. It was an accident. The seer's eyes glowed faintly blue. Accidents have consequences. The bond you share could reshape the balance of our powers. Celira stepped forward. With respect, Seer, this bond saved us. Without it, the rebels would have taken the throne core. Another counselor spoke coldly. Or perhaps the rebels used the human to awaken it. We cannot be sure. Murmurs filled the room. Elier felt the pressure of so many minds pressing against his. Through the bond, he sensed Sailor's anger rising. He touched her hand lightly, just for a second, and she calmed. The connection worked both ways, emotion balancing emotion. The seer noticed. "You already act as one mind," he said quietly. "Perhaps that is not a curse after all." The queen entered then, her tall figure wrapped in layers of silver silk. Her eyes were deep amber, her expression unreadable. The room went silent. "My daughter," she said slowly, "tell me what this bond means to you." Celira lowered her head respectfully. "It means a chance, Mother. A bridge between our worlds. Elier is not a threat. He is proof that our hearts can understand one another." The queen's gaze turned to Elier. "And you, human, what does my daughter mean to you?" Elier hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "She means hope. Not just for your people, but for mine. She reminds me that even in the cold of space, there are still new lights to find." The queen watched him closely. After a long silence, she said, "Hope is fragile. Protect it, or it will die. The council will observe your bond for 7 cycles. If it remains stable, you may represent Valoria and humanity together at the Galactic Concord Summit." Lear bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty." When they left the chamber, Celira exhaled slowly. "You spoke well. Just told the truth," he replied. That day marked the beginning of something new. Over the next weeks, Celira and Elier trained together in the palace's crystal halls. The Valorian scientists monitored their connection while they practiced, focusing their shared energy. At first it was difficult. When one of them lost focus, the other felt dizzy or disoriented. But slowly, they learned to guide their thoughts together, balancing calm and power like 2 sides of the same heartbeat. One morning, while they practiced on the observation deck, Celira tried something new. "Let's see if we can project energy outward," she said. Elier nodded. "Okay, you lead. I'll follow your rhythm." They stood a few feet apart, eyes closed. The air between them began to glow faintly gold. Celira concentrated on a single thought, peace. Elier mirrored it in his mind. The light grew stronger until a small sphere of energy floated between them. Humming softly, "It's working," she said. He smiled. "Looks like teamwork." Then suddenly, a pulse of static cut through the air. The energy flickered violently. Celira gasped and staggered backward. Elier rushed to her, catching her before she fell. "What happened?" "I don't know," she said, trembling. Someone disrupted the field. A voice echoed through the hall's speakers, a cold, mechanical tone. "You should not have survived, Princess." The lights dimmed. From the shadows at the far end of the deck, a group of black-clad figures stepped out, remnants of the Void Talons, still alive. Their leader, a tall Valorian with one broken ear, aimed a weapon at them. "The throne's bond is a curse. We'll end it now." Elier moved in front of Celira. "You'll have to go through me first." The rebel laughed. Human courage. Admirable, but useless. Celira's eyes flared gold. "He's not useless. He's my bond." She raised her hand, but Elier stopped her. "Let me try something." Closed his eyes and focused on the link between them. He could feel her energy wild, luminous, frightened. He didn't push it. He guided it. Together, they reached for calm. The energy around them shifted again, brighter and steadier, when the rebels fired. The plasma bolts vanished in a flash of golden light, dissolving before they hit. The wave spread outward, not as an attack, but as a pulse of force that froze the rebels where they stood, their weapons falling harmlessly to the floor. When the light faded, they were unconscious but unharmed. Celira opened her eyes slowly. "Elier, how did you do that?" He smiled, breathing heavily. "I didn't. We did." Within minutes, guards arrived and took the rebels away. The High Seer came soon after, his expression filled with awe. "Your bond just stabilized the energy field across the entire palace," he said. "It harmonized with the throne core. You may have awakened the true form of the code." Celira frowned. "What code?" The seer placed his hand on the crystal wall. "The prophecy said that when the bond of light returns, the throne will reveal its voice once more." Before anyone could speak, the air around them shimmered. A soft golden mist filled the room, and a deep, calm voice spoke from everywhere at once, the ancient AI of the royal system. Solera Valer, Elier Kane, your bond unites the frequencies of heart and mind. The time of isolation ends. The Concord awaits. The light faded, leaving everyone silent. Solera turned to Elier, her voice barely a whisper. It spoke your name. He nodded slowly. Looks like it approves of us. In the following days, the Stellar Crown prepared for the Galactic Concord Summit. For the first time in history, Valorians and humans would present a joint delegation. Many feared it. Others celebrated it. On the night before their departure, Eliar couldn't sleep. He walked through the gardens of the palace, where glowing plants shimmered under the stars. Solera found him there, her long robe brushing softly against the stone path. You're awake too, she said. Too much on my mind, he replied. What if the summit goes wrong? What if they see us as a threat instead of a bridge? She smiled gently. Then we'll remind them that bridges are built from both sides. They sat together by a pool of liquid light, the soft hum of the palace around them. Solera turned to him. When you first looked at me, I felt anger. I thought you were careless, staring into the eyes of a royal without permission. But now, I'm grateful. Your eyes didn't just activate a code. They reminded me what it means to feel alive. Elier met her gaze quietly. Maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe the universe wanted us to meet. She looked up at the stars. My people believe the stars listen. If that's true, they must have heard you long before I did. He smiled. Then let's give them a story worth listening to. The next day, the Stellar Crown drifted through space toward the Concord station. The massive meeting hub floated like a silver flower between worlds, with ships from 100 species surrounding it. As Salier's ship approached, every channel lit up with greetings and questions. When they entered the summit hall, representatives from across the galaxy turned to watch. The human envoy and the Valorian princess walked side by side. Their steps perfectly synchronized, a living symbol of unity. The Grand Speaker of the Concord stood to greet them. Princess,